I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, December the 15th, brought to you in part by VitaFerm by Biozyme, made right there in South St. Joe, Missouri, with their own patented Amaferm product. Most other mineral companies put some Amaferm in their product, but not enough to do any good. Be sure and check out VitaFerm, the best for mineral money can buy. Shut the gates for Christmas, and that's just kind of a plead for you cattle sellers. You're not in that bad a shape. There may be a few you guys up in the Midwest, and you guys know it's your own fault for not getting rid of those cattle if they're getting, weighing 1,700 pounds plus, and you should have gotten rid of them before now. But for the bulk of the feedlot sellers, just shut the gates. I tell you what, they didn't buy hardly any cattle cash, negotiated cash last week. Your packers didn't. They're claiming that they don't need any cattle because they're going to have an unusually light Christmas week with Christmas falling late in the week there. And now they're saying they might give Christmas Eve and Christmas off for their employees because they did such a good job making them millions and millions and billions of dollars in profits during the COVID and 2020. So they're going to give them the day off, a couple days off there for reward for that. Now, your packers have made a lot of contracts to fill product here early next year. But they're saying they don't need any. If they don't need any cattle, for Pete's sake, don't sell them any cattle, because all they're going to want to do is beat this market down a bunch more, and it was lower last week than we even thought that it was while we were doing it. So wait till after the new year. We've got a lot of positive things coming up after the new year. If you don't sell them any cattle and they have extremely light slaughter rates during the holidays, they're going to be wanting to break out and really pick up these chain speeds to start the new year, and they've got a lot of orders to fill. They've got a lot of need for product out there. I think a lot of the guys are already thinking that, because we had light sales last week, less than 48,000 negotiated sales in your 5-area feeding region, and our show list is smaller. And you guys know I don't take a lot of stock in the show list, but the numbers on the show list come out to be smaller. How do you have huge carryover from last week and come out with smaller show lists? A lot of the guys are doing exactly what I said. They just said, to heck with them. I'm going to go enjoy my Christmas and the New Year, and we'll see how hungry they are after the New Year. Because they don't want to trade. They just want to beat things down and go on. Of course, we know now that the rumors they spread about being likely shut down due to COVID again were not true. Now let's see how light they exactly have their slaughter rates during Christmas and New Year's. So, are they going to give them an extra paid holiday? I mean, they're already under union contracts, so they're going to clock them in for 8 hours on Christmas Eve and then give it to them off. I would say if they were planning on working that day and then they didn't get to work that day, there'd be a lot of workers that would be saying, I was kind of counting on that to buy Christmas presents for my kids. But there's a lot of positives after the new year. I tell you what, everybody will have a new resurgence. 2020 will be over, thank God. We're going to have a bullish or a positive, may not be bullish compared to what the average and the analyst guess are, but we're going to have a positive cattle on feed report here on Friday, here leading into the holidays. And your feedlots are going to need some cattle because there won't have been any cattle moving for a little bit, and they're still shipping some cattle that they sold last week and the week before. So our feeder cattle market should be pretty good. Our board, our commodities boards on cattle, it stands to garner some more buying from funds, because your cattle markets are just about the same as they've been pretty much all year, even through the COVID. A lot of the other commodity markets and grains and things that your funds like to delve into, they've gained quite a bit back since we've not recovered from COVID, but we've gotten through all the shutdowns and everything. So they're kind of looking at these fund management companies, the buyers for those are kind of looking at cattle like they might be a little bit undervalued there. You know, what if we start giving everybody these vaccines and they start opening up some more of these food service, some more restaurants, some more things like that. People start moving around a little bit more. The Electoral College put Biden in for president. That's hard to say, but they put him in and likely going to be inaugurated. And then his old partners, the Chinese, they'll probably come in and buy a lot more meat and stuff from us because they're starving over there. They've depleted about everywhere else that they can buy it from. And they didn't like doing business with Trump because he was holding their feet to the fire on so many other things and charging them tariffs and all this stuff. You know, I'm sure Biden will take those tariffs down and just rub their feet and do whatever he needs to do to make them happy. Well, likely that's going to result in some orders for some products. You would think that's how it would normally happen, but when you're dealing with a communist socialist country, maybe they don't do things normal. But lots of things to kind of look forward to over, on the other side of this couple week period here. And I tell you what, the best things we could do for the market is just shut the gates. Let's talk about the board on Monday to open the week. December live cattle futures up 35 cents at 109.10. February down 15 at 113.10, but not a lot of movement, not much volatility at all. You went all the way out on your out front traded months, down 22 cents to up 12, so really nothing. January feeder cattle are about the same, up 30 cents for January spot feeder cattle contract at 140.02, and that's quite a bit of a premium to what our index levels are right now. But they're likely to go up here as we have a lot of shutdowns and things like that, and what sales will be going through will stick out and look pretty good. And then most everybody's expecting a higher market breaking out of the gates in 2001 on your feeder cattle. March up a nickel on your feeder cattle contracts for March at 140.60. Gone out from there, and they were down 27 to up 30, so not a whole lot going on. Your weighted average on last week's meager negotiated cash trade out of your 5-area feeding region, 47,900 head. That would trip several more of those minor triggers on your 75% of a robust market that NCBA has pushed forward as a kind of a fix for this problem here that we have with no leverage because they resist minimum negotiated cash requirement. But less than 48,000. That compares to 74,600 last week and 70,900 head same week a year ago. Your market was mostly $2 lower with live sales of steers and heifers ranging from 103 to 108. But there were so many cattle that sold off the market, and then late in the week we had more cattle than we thought sell off your main price, which was 108, and most of your sales were 107 to 108. But later in the week it was a lot more 107, and then you get up in the northern plains and the Midwest, and they were puking them at 104 and 5 and things like that. But it was so bad, and your volume was so light that your live steer weighted average price for the week was only 106.75, and that's mostly $3 or exactly $3 lower than the previous week's weighted average, when your core market was mostly $2 lower. And like I said earlier, your market was worse than we even thought it was. Your dress sales ranged from 164 to 170, mostly from 167 to 168, but as much as we thought traded at 168, and that would have been mostly $4 lower. Your weighted average price on dress steers 167.77. That was down $4.52 from the previous week's weighted average there. So your markets were down pretty hard last week, and we lost ground the week before. Here we thought we were going to be on the upswing coming into the last part of the year, but it didn't happen. We've still got monster numbers of cattle on feed for the first quarter of 2021, but after that, things are going to be a little bit lighter, and we're going to have supply starting to work back in your cattle sellers' favor, and but I don't know how they're going to take advantage of it, because we absolutely cannot get our heads together on this trade. And so, if you continue to have people out there being mavericks and doing their own thing, puking their own cattle, which they have every right to do, a lot lower than what the market is, I don't know how we're ever going to gain any ground. But box beef cutout values sharply lower again to start the week. We talked about how they were 20 bucks lower last week. And starting the week already, choice cuts Monday afternoon, 209.69, down 419. So God love them, the Packers, as much as they've been trying to work this cattle market down, they've been losing margin here the last couple of weeks, because their wholesale beef prices are down so sharply. Select cuts 192.30, down 341. Now, likely what's going to happen right now is your Packers are not expecting to have a big slaughter here for the next 2 or 3 weeks, and so they'll want to shore up these sharp losses on your wholesale beef market. And those are not negotiated sales, guys. Those prices are set, and then the buyers either buy that product or they don't buy them, and then they kind of adjust the price depending on how much of it they want to move. But they probably will just kind of back off on moving much volume on the current delivery right now, because they really need product to fill all these orders. And so I wouldn't expect these cutout values to continue to plunge. They'll shore them up just on lighter volume, and try to get a respectable market back on your wholesale beef prices here as we go through the holidays. Your slaughter just about on pace with what it's been last week and last year, so no need to mention that too much. What else is going on? I'm going to be going back out to Fallon, Nevada again here this week for my buddy Jack Payne and help auctioneer his sale. He's got a big special out there at Nevada Livestock Marketing this Thursday the 17th. You can view and bid those high desert calves there on dvauction.com. He's got another big slug of them coming in. And you guys, I tell you what, those are hardy calves right there. Most of them will be all long time weaned. They've had a little bit of weather on them. They've come in there, and they'll really go to work for you. They've started to get a little bit of moisture in parts of California. Maybe that'll be good. And some other places have had a little bit of moisture. Even if you need some wheat cattle, long haul on those hardy calves won't hurt them too bad. But we hope to get some interest in there in Fallon, Nevada on Thursday. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV Auction. Late in the day on Monday at 136.44. That was actually up 39 cents. And compares very tight with your latest CME cash feeder cattle index, which was only about 13 cents higher, 100, so pretty darn close there. Your big markets, Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City, 10,500 head compared to 17,000 that they had a week ago Monday, and they won't have to sell plumb until 7 o'clock in the morning to get the 10,500 through. That's kind of a typical run for them when cattle are moving. But compared to last week, a big run and sharply higher prices on calves, your feeders were actually steady to $2 higher. Feeders, steers and heifers there. Calves, $3 to $5 lower for the most part. If they were long time weaned and had their shots, they noted they were only about steady to $1 lower. But, that lower calf market's in comparison to a sharply higher calf market that they had a week ago. But cold and snowy around there, and a pretty good jolt of not too much ice, but just kind of some dry snow and cold weather there. And those of us in the southern plains, we're fair weather. We're not too wild about that cold, and when it comes through, we don't have to muscle through it because we know in a couple of days it'll be nice again. So we don't have to just continue to fight through it all the time. But it did back a lot of orders off, and I talked to some other people that had been selling cattle in southwest Kansas, Oklahoma Panhandle, western Oklahoma, Texas Panhandle, and they did back off just because of the weather that went through, and they're saying that we may get another one here in the middle of the week, and not sure how big of a deal it's going to be. But Oklahoma National Stockyards, this was their last sale right here early this week. So they're going to be closed for two big Mondays there. They're going to take complete 2 weeks off, and most all your southeast will do that too. So we won't have another market out of Oklahoma National Stockyards till like January the 4th. So just remember that, and don't be thinking about sending cattle in there because they won't be open until then. Joplin Regional Stockyards, 4,000 head, light run for them. Now they are going to have one more sale. They're going to have a sale next Monday on the 21st, and they're going to sell all classes of cattle. They're going to sell calves, feeder cattle, and cows and bulls there on that sale because they're not going to be having a Wednesday cow market there. So one more sale at Joplin there on the 21st, and it kind of reminds me whenever I was working back east in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, those sales just hated to shut down out there because they sold day-old baby Holstein calves for the special fed veal market, and they didn't want to miss out on those. But Bob Frame, an old buddy of mine, he's passed away quite a while back, but he owned Vintage Sales Stables, one of the sale barns in Lancaster County there, and it come on Tuesday, and he closed down for that Tuesday and didn't have a sale because it was on Christmas, and I was actually surprised that he didn't have a sale on Christmas Day. But the competing sale barn had twice as many calves as their sale the very next day, and he was grumbling, and he says, I ain't never shutting down for Christmas again. But that's a whole different world out there, and they've got to move those calves, I mean, immediately. But Joplin Regional Stockyards on a light run, 4,000 head. Steers weighing under 6.5, steady to $5 higher, so continued good market for calves. Heifers weighing under 6, steady to firm. Steers and heifers, the steers weighing over 6.5 and heifers over 6, your bigger feeder types, all about steady. So just kind of a decent market on a lighter run there at Joplin Regional Stockyards. Give you a few quotes, stick out deals. I want to talk a little bit about Bluegrass Stockyards South out in Stanford, Kentucky. Now they sell, they sell big strings of cattle. I talk about them all the time. They sell their own backgrounded yearlings there. I mean their own local cattle, starting to add value to their calves in Kentucky and many places across the southeast by keeping them local and putting them together, putting weight on them and selling them as yearlings, and that's what they need to do. That's because they can get so much closer to the top of the market selling loads of yearlings than they can small bunches or single odd bunches of calves. But look at these prices on 9 to 950 pound loads of steers out of Stanford, Kentucky. There's 4 loads of them here, and weighing in the light 9, sell from $129.70 to $133. That's pretty darn close to the market. I mean, at the back door of the major feedlots. But the thing is, we're in the winter time, and it's just the fact of the matter is those cattle don't have as much hair as the cattle that are further north and back west a ways, but they're selling them that well. Now it's not out of the ordinary for them to sell those loads of yearlings in the late part of the winter or the spring or even into the summer because there's going to be fair weather where those cattle are feeding. But I thought that was an awful good sale for Bluegrass Stockyards South to be selling those loads of yearlings as close to the top of the market as they're selling them. How about come back towards the Midwest, Callaway Livestock Center, Kingdom City, Missouri, Jack Harrison and company there. How about 60 head, 915 pound feeder steers there in central Missouri at $135.50. At the top quote that I saw anywhere, and your Zach Tran top quote for the day, come out of Sioux Falls Regional Livestock, Worthing, South Dakota, on some lightweight steer calves 89 head, weighed 562, not a smooth 5, but in the upper part of the 5s, 562 at 174.50. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.